Today's podcast is sponsored by The Morning Navigator, a daily newsletter written by Tony Greer, who is a 30-year veteran trader in the financial markets. I think it's important to be responsible with your personal finances and investments, and it's hard to do that without understanding the markets. Now, this is where The Morning Navigator fills a specific need for me. If you're looking for actionable trade ideas or simply to educate yourself about the markets, then The Morning Navigator will help you to do both. It's an interesting, informative, and amusing daily read. Now, a subscription to The Morning Navigator normally costs $60 a month or $650 per year. However, my listeners can go to tgmacro.com, sign up for a free 1-week trial, and apply the code Zuby, Z-U-B-Y, at checkout for a discount of either $10 off the $60 a month subscription or $100 off the $650 annual subscription. As you can infer, the annual subscription is a better deal. Either one is a win when it comes to understanding the global markets and managing your personal investments. So once again, you can sign up today for a free trial at tgmacro.com. tgmacro.com. Go check it out. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I would like to welcome you back to the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the country where I grew up. We're going to be having a big discussion about Saudi Arabia. And to do this, I have got on Naif Harbi, who is the founder and the current president of a group called Saudis for Peace. How's it going, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, my man. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm looking forward to actually share a lot of things in Saudi Arabia that people doesn't understand around the world, actually.
Yeah, sure thing, man. I'm grateful to have you on here because, in lots of different interviews and all throughout my life, especially when I'm here in the UK or when I travel in Europe or America, I get a lot of questions about Saudi Arabia. And of course, with me, someone who grew up there, living as an expat and who went to school there as an expat, I'm sure I'll have certain experiences, and you being a Saudi national will have some different experiences, and we'll be able to offer some perspective because I think it's a country that a lot of people have. It's one of the only countries in the world where almost everybody seems to have an opinion, and sometimes a very strong opinion, despite the fact that most people don't really know much about it, let alone have ever been there. So I think it would be, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I think it'll be really, really interesting. But before we get into that, can you just give a little bit of an introduction to who you are and where you're from?
I'm from a city called Medina. It's in the western of Saudi Arabia. Medina is the city that Prophet Muhammad moved from Mecca to Medina. And it's a holy city. And I grew up in that holy city all my life. I did not, until I left Saudi Arabia in 2012, I did not speak English at all. So I was like zero English, and I went to the States. So It's kind of the same experience. Like you, Zuby, you lived in Saudi Arabia, and I lived my younger years in America as well. I moved to America alone, and I had a lot of misconceptions about America, about Westerns, about Christian, about Jewish, about a lot of things.
What were some of those misconceptions, out of interest?
Well, judging people from media, from TV or the internet was not a good thing, actually. Like when I went there, I really understood what's American are, what their life is, how they feel, how they think, what's their opinion about stuff. On the media, I always thought that Americans or Christian or Jewish or other religions hate me as a Muslim, which is not true at all. This actually it changed over, like when I went to the States. This is what did not change, like when I arrived in the airport. It took time. It took a lot of actions and moments that I realized, oh, these people are not bad. I had the wrong idea. I want to do that and I want to do that. So pretty much I went to Orlando, Florida for 3 months. I met this cool group of people, and they were like Christian and atheists and Jewish. And I was like, oh my God, these people are nice. They were ordering me pizza. I did not speak English. They just picked the phone and ordered pizza. They tried to teach me English. It was a lot of cool things. And they gave me money sometimes. So I was like, oh, okay. I had all these bad ideas about them, and it's not fair. When I went to Arizona State, when I did my bachelor degree, someone in campus called me a terrorist. because I look brown or whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
His idea.
Hmm.
Yeah, and some Christian group stood for me, like
Okay.
in yeah, like in that moment, like they were hugging me and like, oh, dude, don't worry about that. He's just an ignorant. He doesn't represent us
Mm.
as a Christians. He
Hmm.
just say some hateful things, but we are Christians and we welcome you in America. And they became my friends.
Cool.
And I got joined with an interfaith club in Arizona State University. And after that, it got kicked off. It changed my life forever. So I changed my major.
Hmm.
And now in Saudi Arabia, I am the founder and current president of Saudis for Peace. It's an NGO.
Okay.
It's about bringing people from religions, different religions together, and non-religions as
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
to share values, respect. So we're trying to build these bridges between religions and cultures and societies and people.
Awesome. That's great. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your background? What was it like growing up in Saudi and in Medina specifically? What was that like? I've never been to Medina myself, actually.
Yeah, man, it's Medina is a very closed society, so you will meet 100% Muslims.
Okay.
So it's not like Aramco or a
Mm-mm.
Riyadh or Jeddah. It's Medina is very close, so I never met any non-Muslims in my life
Okay.
until I went to the States.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, my family is from a lower or middle class family. I was the first son, and my dad, like, first son, and my dad trying to find his way in his life and trying to, buy land, buy house and
Hmm.
whatever. So
Hmm.
I lived that struggle with my dad in the beginning of his life. uh, so I got in Saudi Arabia, thankfully, all schools are free, all universities are free,
Yeah.
and I got a very good education. I Healthcare as well in Saudi Arabia was not it's free in Saudi Arabia, so my dad did not get a lot of loans, or he's not in debt at all. So
Hmm.
he, like, it was easy for him to build himself up.
Sure.
So yeah, and the
Sorry
time I
to
left
jump
in
in
this.
there. To jump in there.
Yeah,
Can you explain to people how Saudi Arabia is able to offer those services for free? Because a lot of
yeah.
people
So
who I've spoken to have been very surprised by the fact that there's free public health care and free education and things like that. So, can you explain how that actually works?
So in Saudi Arabia, actually, what's in the land is for the people. So the
Mm.
government sell all this oil or do a lot of like services like tourism. People come visit Mecca and Medina. People like, like public investments that the government do. There we have. I'm not an expert on this, but
Yeah,
I
sure.
will try my best. It's my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
So or what I know. So the government invests in a lot of places around the world, as in Saudi Arabia, and they make like a lot of money, and
Hmm.
they give that money to the people through education and healthcare and other services for free. And that actually, big part of this is oil,
Hmm.
and oil play in all this. Oil change everything in this. But Vision 2030, and I think a lot of people talked about it in your comment last night.
Hmm.
Vision 2030 trying to take Saudi Arabia away from oil. So we were waiting for that moment. Oil will be gone
Yeah.
and no healthcare, no education. But MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, one, like, I love this guy so much, and I
Mm-mm.
don't know why people hate when I say that. Like, people in the West, I don't know why they hate. Like, we love this guy a lot,
Yeah.
and he wanna diverse our economy. He
Hmm.
wanna bring our economy to better stability and better status. So right now, the Saudi Arabia trying to invest in different spots in the world and in Saudi Arabia to take us from oil. So by this investment, we will get better healthcare, better education in the coming years, hopefully.
Gotcha. Okay. So sorry, I know I jumped in there sort of halfway through. So you were telling me a little bit more about the society and culture of Medina.
Yes. So my culture, I lived in my tribe, so all my weddings was around the tribe,
Hmm.
like the weddings, the events, whatever. I hang out with my tribes. I hang out with my cousins 24 hours. So it was a very close society. I
Hmm.
did not have people from different religions, different languages, or different anything. Probably some people from like Southeast Asia or Egypt, for example, or Lebanon will be working
Hmm.
in Medina and they meet these people, but they are Muslims. And me myself, I did not hang out with them much,
Sure.
so I did not really know a lot about them too. Um, so that's how it used to be. Uh, Saudi Arabia is not a closed country, but people could pick to be closed on
Yes.
themselves.
Okay.
So, like, if I like me, after I came back from the West to Saudi Arabia now, I have friends from every single nationality and every single religion in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And
Yeah.
are you still based in Medina now, or are you now in Riyadh?
No, I moved to Riyadh.
Okay, cool. And what's Riyadh like compared to
Oh,
Medina?
it's the capital. People come there from all around the world to work, to visit. Tourism in Saudi Arabia just opened like I think 8 months ago,
Mm,
and you
mm.
actually can get your visa in 5 minutes
Okay.
from online and just
This
come
is
to visit Saudi Arabia.
See, this is a big change because I left Saudi in 2008. So I haven't been back to Saudi in 12 years. So I lived there from I think about 1988 till 2008. So about 20 years. To give a little background, my dad's a medical doctor, and so he used to work for Aramco. I grew up in two of the different Aramco camps. I went to school there until I was in fifth grade, and then I went to boarding school in the UK, university in the UK. But during my whole time at boarding school and university, I was back and forth between the two countries. So from kindergarten or from preschool up until fifth grade, I was almost permanently in Saudi, with the exception of occasional holidays outside. And then after fifth grade, when I was like 11 years old, up until the age of 20, I was back and forth between the UK and Saudi Arabia. So, like I said, one reason I really wanted to speak to you and I thought this would be interesting is because, of course, me growing up there as a British national expat and living in the bubble, which is Aramco. I would go outside and, visit different cities like Hofuf or Al Khobar, Dahran, like lots of different places. But I'm totally aware that my own experience will be different to that of a Saudi national. And as you know, sometimes, as you alluded to yourself, I did know Saudis when I was there, but the expat community and the Saudi community, I don't know if it's still like this now, but at the
It
time it
is.
was, yeah, it was quite separated. So it's sort of two different worlds which have some overlap, but they kind of do their own things.
I think my biggest projects, Zuby, right now, what I'm doing in my life is trying to build these bridges between expats and Saudi nationals inside Saudi Arabia.
Mm,
It's still segregated. And let me tell you this, sometimes it's actually weird because these expats come and work in Saudi Arabia and they have misconceptions about Saudi Arabia
oh yeah, yeah,
and they live in it.
yes,
And they always are scared. They pick these compounds and it looks like, oh, they scared from the people, they scared from Saudi citizens. But when they take 3 years, probably,
hmm,
they start to make friends outside that compound, right?
yep,
And they start to explore Saudi Arabia and go to different cities, and they don't miss the chance of knowing the Saudi people and the Saudi heritage.
hmm,
Uh, I think one of my biggest projects right now to just destroy that segregation between expats and Saudi citizens. I think
sure,
Saudi citizens are very open
hmm,
and they really want to know people and they welcome people. They're very generous. Uh, but the misconceptions some expats have about the community, and these misconceptions, they bring it from the West, from the
yes,
media, from the
sure,
internet.
Of
to
course.
Saudi Arabia. It's kind of this. I think it's the same thing what happened to me in the States.
Hmm.
But me in the States, that mindset got destroyed with 2 months.
Yes. So
But
what are
they
some
take too much time.
Okay, so let's talk about misconceptions, let's talk about facts, let's talk about non-facts because like I said at the beginning, I mean people have the amount of different things I've heard about Saudi Arabia from people who have never been there, despite the fact that I live there, is unbelievable. I mean, even yesterday I posted up on Twitter asking people for some of their questions, and you've got people making very grand assertions and statements, some of which are correct and rooted in some fact, some of which are not, and it's weird because people feel they have this sort of ability to make these statements about a country that they've never been to, which I just find strange because I'd find it weird if someone was doing it about the UK or America or Nigeria or anywhere else, right? If someone's never been to Nigeria and they're there sort of trying to lecture me about exactly what Nigeria is like, I'd be, a little bit confused in that regard. So let's talk about some of those misconceptions because I'm sure you've probably dealt with this even more than I have. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've experienced about Saudi Arabia, whether that is stuff to do with the culture or the religion or the people, or perhaps even the government? What are the misconceptions that you experience most, and how do you counteract those?
I think I cannot even count how many misconceptions I have heard in my life.
Okay.
But people sometimes, yeah, they have. Okay, it was something in the past, and it's
Yes.
not something that happened. Like for example, women driving. Like we had this
Hmm.
question yesterday.
Yes.
Women not able to drive.
Hmm.
This is actually from 2 years ago. Right now, it's not.
Yeah.
It's old news, and
Yeah. This
we
this is
should move on.
Yeah, this is interesting because when I lived in Saudi Arabia, women were not able to drive. Like I said, I left in 2008. So I think in that 12 years, actually, from what I understand, even you were talking about the tourist visas, women being able to drive. I saw that in some of the restaurants in the cities and stuff. Like when I lived there, it was the men's only section, and then the family section for women and children. I saw that some of that is starting to come apart and to change. So my view on Saudi, based on the snapshot of my own life, is actually going to now be different from what it currently is now. So in terms of
So
something, for example, like women driving, how has that what's that like sort of in the real world now? How has that shift happened, and what have been the
man, let me tell you, I'm a Saudi. When I left Saudi Arabia in 2012, and I
Mhm.
came back to Saudi Arabia 2019 last year. It's a different country, man.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
don't know this country anymore. Like,
Interesting.
look, right now you can go to any coffee shop and sit with a group of women and a group of guys together and talk. This is used to be not a thing 2012.
Oh no, the
This is, you
Matawa would be on you
cannot do
quickly.
that.
No.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Can you tell people about Matawa?
Mutawa, they don't exist anymore
Wow. Okay.
at
That's a
all.
big difference. This is a big difference.
Yes. So religious police and people tell you what's good and what's not based on religious views.
Yes.
They don't exist anymore in
In any
Saudi
in any
Arabia.
city.
In any city.
Wow. Okay, that is a big change.
Yeah, in any city. They have offices, but like they stay in the offices and do like internet blogs about like you should clean your like you should clean the city. You should. It's a different even approach.
Okay.
Back in the days, I'm telling you myself, before Mohammed bin Salman, they took my phone, was a Nokia phone,
Hmm.
and they looked everything in my studio if I had porn or not.
Oh wow. Yeah, that sounds more like the Saudi that I know.
Yeah, so that was like old news, man. They took
Okay.
like the phone and they looked. One time they cut my hair; it was long, and they were telling me like, "You're trying to do a David Beckham haircut." This just doesn't exist anymore, and
Okay.
right now it makes me laugh when I think about it. Like, what
Mm.
the hell is going on, man? And like, like this is a change. I'm happy for this to change. I love
Okay.
it. because we actually becoming more open to others, and
Mm-hmm.
we actually more diverse today. When you come to Saudi society today, there is a big spectrum of ideas and knowledge and opinions. Let me tell you one cool thing about Saudi Arabia. And I think myself, this is what changed my life. And I think this is what changed Saudi Arabia. In 2005, like this is early, before Mohammed bin Salman. In 2005, King Abdullah, the former king of Saudi Arabia, started a scholarship program. The scholarship program is to send Saudi kids to universities in the UK, United States, and China. You know how many people graduated from this scholarship?
I don't
1
know.
million people.
Wow. Okay.
1 million.
Mm.
You know, this program is free tuition, free healthcare, and they give you $2,000 salary every month.
Wow. Okay.
Everywhere in the world.
Okay.
And like this
Any
government
any
doing
any any Western progressives listening to this right now are going to be like, "Oh, wait, hang on, I need to reconsider."
yeah, man. Like you and you know how many paperworks I signed or a contract I signed before I left Saudi Arabia to pay that money back?
One?
Zero.
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 Okay.
I did not sign anything to say to Saudi Arabia, I'm going to pay you back.
Mm.
And I just left. And I got my degree from Arizona State, and I got another degree, a master's degree in the same program from UCL, University College London. And I had 100% opportunity to stay in the US or stay in the UK. Why I picked to come back to Saudi?
Why?
Because I want to build my country.
Gotcha.
I want to help my people. I want to make the change here. If you don't change home, you're not going to change anything.
Gotcha. So
this is how I look to it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I mean, one big question I do have, this is like an overarching question with all this. And I'm sure, of course, you're one individual, I'm one individual. It's not like any one person can represent an entire country or community or anything like that, right? These are just our individual opinions. But how much does, given the stuff that MBS is doing and the changes that have happened even since I left Saudi in 2008, how strong is the appetite for reform and change and progression amongst the Saudi citizenry, right? Because I think it's fair to assume that Saudi doesn't want to become totally like the UK or like Sweden or like USA or whatever, right? Saudi wants to still stay Saudi, but how would I put this? How will they balance that progression with maintaining some of their own traditions and beliefs and things like that? Because fundamentally, the way a country like Saudi sort of works and the values and the culture and elements of the religion and things like that are very different in many ways to the way that Western countries are. It's a somewhat different model. It sounds like it's starting to move in that direction, but how far does it? How far do you want it to move in that direction? How far do the general public want it to? How far do the government do, et cetera? I don't know if that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I see young people. 70% of Saudi Arabia are young, under the age of 30.
That's interesting. Yeah.
70%. And all a lot of them been traveling all around the world. I'm telling you, the program in 2000, it started 2005 until today. Now it's King Salman program for scholarship. It's 1 million people came back from this. I think 0.001 stayed in the States.
Wow. Okay.
Or in UK.
Okay.
Most of the people are like me. They came here. And there's people graduated from Harvard, from Yale, from Oxford, UCL, big schools. And they come here. They absolutely, have mix of the kind of the values. I think I have that in my heart today.
Sure.
I kind of have different values than the one who stated in the Saudi Arabia, like in Saudi Arabia University, right?
Yes.
But I think we're moving to the direction to be normal. And to be normal is to have movie theaters, to have art around the city, to enjoy music. And in the same time, to be normal is to pray to God as a Muslim,
Yes.
is to fast, is to keep your family relations maintained. Actually, family is one of the biggest things in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Vision 2030 focused on all these things. Vision 2030 said diverse the economy, open it for tourism, let people to come to us and see us and know us, and we know them as well.
Yeah.
So there will be different religions coming, different nationalities, different everything, different opinions. So we're gonna meet these people around. At the same time, we're gonna Vision 2030 focus about the Saudi identity, how we keep our strong identity and be proud about it.
Yes.
Because something I really did not like about the West when I was there, the West always looked to their model as the best model ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they always be like, oh, you don't have this, we have this, you don't have that. It's a different culture, it's a different society, it's a different everything.
Yes.
A tribal, like we have tribes here. And let me tell you, the Al Saud family connection to the tribes of Saudi Arabia is over 300 years.
Mm.
We love this family, we appreciate this family. Before 300 years, or until recently, until like before King Abdulaziz, my tribe used to fight other tribes here.
Mm.
These people who made the country secure, and they're actually doing great with the healthcare, with the education system, and they're doing good to the citizens, and we appreciate them and we love them and we are connected to them. But in the Western media, they don't like to hear this message. Yeah. They always pick a Saudi who talk negative about the Al Saud family or the kingdom or the government. So they put them in different media platforms. But my message, I never heard anyone saying that. And this is the majority of Saudi Arabia. Yeah. And yesterday I shared that in my Twitter, and they say, tell me what I'm telling to Zuby and in his podcast. And everyone was telling me, dude, just tell him this. We are actually normal, and we have a good mod. Like we have a good life here, and we are open, and we love everyone. Yeah. And I was like, this is a very simple message, because going to your comments was scary a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like,
sure,
oh my God.
Yeah, people have a,
like, with all due respect, yesterday, like people, like this one of the questions, and you saw that as well, like Yasmin Mohammed. When she said to you that, oh, you gonna take this blood money or whatever money,
that was a bit much.
She did not even hear me talk. She did not respect my opinion. She said I have a propaganda, and I have zero propaganda. I'm just telling them I love my country. This is not a propaganda. I'm not telling you, Zuby, love my country. I'm not telling anyone love Saudi Arabia, but I'm telling you, I am the citizen of this country, and I love it so much, and I love MBS so much. So respect my choice of that, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I do think that people in the West can be extremely arrogant about it in that regard, because look, I can understand people thinking that their way of doing things and their lifestyle and their beliefs and everything is the best, right? Or that everyone else around the world should adopt those same beliefs and values and culture and everything like that. And, you know, I think some people call me like a cultural relativist or something like this, but as someone who's grown up with lots of exposure to different cultures, you have to understand that, look, every country has its own history. It has like a long background and a way that it's become the way that it is. And not all people, not all groups around the world have the exact same values and perspectives and views and everything. So trying to sort of just take the end stage model of one country and slap it on top of one that's got a very different kind of people in there with different beliefs and, you know, different kinds of people and everything like that. And it's just like, that's not a realistic view. And things happen, things do change. Things change over time. As you're talking about, in the past decade, it sounds like Saudi has actually made quite a lot of changes in some of the things that people previously were very, very heavily critical of. Are there still things that people are very, very heavily critical of, and which you may think are not right, or which I may think are not right? Yes. But even in terms of using the word right, that has some level of subjectivity, just like everything. I mean, you look at politics, you look at religion, you look at people's just individual belief systems and ideologies. Like, what is right? I know what I think is right,
Yeah.
but then there's someone else who thinks that, no, Zuby's totally wrong on all this. What I think is right. And then someone else thinks this and someone else thinks that. And look, the reality is that life is complicated. Human beings are very, very complicated, both individually, let alone collectively. So I do think that it's important to at least be open-minded and be willing to listen to these different perspectives and learn, whether you agree, whether you disagree. That's the whole point of having a conversation. Now that we're going in that direction, I thought it would be interesting to go through some of the things that
I just
actually
want to
did.
add something.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, please
I
do.
just want to add, yeah, like we as Saudi citizens, we are not angels.
Yeah,
We don't, everything is not perfect with us or a
no,
government or a country. And we are not devils. We're just a human
yeah,
as the rest of the world. So I'm not trying to make my picture as an angel or I'm not trying to agree with the picture that I am a devil. I'm just a
yes.
normal person. I'm
Yeah,
just a human. That's it.
that's totally fair. And look, every country is like that. If you want to focus on the negatives of British society, or you want to focus on the negatives of American society, or you want to focus on the negatives of French society, whatever it is, it's like you can do that. Like if I wanted to put a certain hat on and be deeply, deeply critical of British society or Americans, I could do that, right? It's not hard to point
For
out.
sure.
It's not difficult to take
It's
the negative.
super easy.
Yeah, it's super easy to take the negative things and sort of blow those ones up. But you can also look at the things that are positive and, focus on those ones. And I just think it's disingenuous when people choose to focus on all the positives in one society and then compare all the positives of this one society to all the negatives of this other one. It's just like, it's just disingenuous. It's not fair.
It is.
And also what people do is they conflate government with people. Okay. So you could be, for example, someone could be very critical of the American government, but that doesn't mean that you hate the American people or that you're conflating some of the government's actions with the actions of 330 million people. And again, I think when it comes to Saudi, you have a lot of people, some rightly so, who are deeply critical of some aspects of the government and some of the actions that it's taken, both within the country and around the world. And then they assume that everybody, they sort of use that picture, they use that governmental framing to paint the entire society, which again, I just don't think is fair. If the British government goes and, commits some atrocity across the world or something, or like bomb some people or something, right? Like that's not me. That's not the people in general,
We saw that we saw that with all through history.
Yes.
The U.S. government, the U.K.
Yes.
government, other governments have done a lot of things.
Oh yes. Come on.
But we don't blame like the whole country, or they don't blame the whole history of the government. If some people made some mistakes, it doesn't mean all Saudis are bad. Like for example, like Abu Ghraib. You remember Abu Ghraib in Iraq?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah, I cannot blame all Americans for that.
No.
I blame these soldiers who were crazy and fucking torturing everyone. They were psychos about it, and it was weird. It was not good to see.
No.
But in the end of the day, not all Americans are like this.
No.
I cannot.
And most of them wouldn't approve of it either. That's the thing.
Yeah, I cannot take like a serial killer in the States and say this is all America,
No.
like
No.
It's not fair.
No, it's easy to focus on the negatives, right? Someone could just be like, yeah, America, yeah, they just like shoot each, even in the UK, some people have this view of America. Everyone just runs around with guns and they, go to schools and they shoot each other and, they're ignorant and they don't travel and, they have this,
someone actually asked me like an English girl asked me in the UK, did you get shot in the States?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's weird. People focus on the negatives when it comes to outside cultures.
It's like often. I went to get a pizza and someone shot me and they just took my pizza and went home.
Yeah.
It's normal in the States.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So I wanted to go through a few of the questions that people have brought up here. Some of the ones that I think are, are a lot more fair and reasonable, and which people do want to hear legitimate answers on and to understand what the real life situation is. So one of the big ones that has come up a lot is issues around women's rights. Okay, a lot of people have questions on there. It's not easy for me as I'm doing this to sort of read them all. But what is the situation, I guess, maybe this can be answered in two parts. So what is the situation there currently in terms of gender equality and women's rights versus how it maybe was, say, 15 years ago when even I was living there? What are some of the changes that are happening there, and what is the current position?
Let me tell you a lot what happened, like what used to be before I left Saudi and
Okay.
after I came back. So
Okay.
I left Saudi 2012. Women were not allowed to drive. We're not allowed to travel. We're not allowed to open a bank account without absolutely like her whatever husband, father signed some paperwork to tell her, oh, she's fine to do that. I'm telling about the bank account or driving, not at all. Traveling, yes, she need that signature. What else? I think yes, and women were not like employment of women. Employment of women was very the rate was not that good.
Okay.
2019, everything changed, man. Women are allowed to travel, open bank account, do everything. We start to see them in big positions in the government. We start to see them like minister, like some ministers, but they are like they are in the big positions around the government, around the whole government. You see women everywhere. Women driving. Women allowed to travel anywhere. We start to see this is something I don't like today.
Okay.
Maybe it's fair, maybe it's not, but it's my opinion.
Okay, go ahead.
Today, if a company give a job to a woman, it's equal, like they will give the company points, right? Equal like the company give two Saudi men a job.
Oh,
so one woman.
Okay.
So that the company get more benefits by hiring a woman than a
interesting.
man.
Okay, interesting. So it's some form, not even affirmative action, but like almost like a little bit of an overcorrection, like an incentive. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. And that's from the Saudi government.
Yeah, so like yes.
Okay, interesting.
So there is like points and points and whatever. I don't know what's. I'm zero with economy, but like there is points.
Okay.
And the company get more benefits by hiring a woman than a man today.
That's interesting.
I think this is because employment rate of women is higher than men. And 60% of university graduates in Saudi Arabia are women.
Oh wow, that's interesting. So that imbalance that does exist in the West is also in Saudi now. So in Saudi, there are more women getting degrees now than men are. You say?
Yes.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. Maybe Professor Jordan Peterson talk about this a lot.
Okay.
Women in Saudi Arabia who graduated from STEAM, like science, technology, they are way more higher than the West. 80% of STEAM graduates in Saudi Arabia are women, not men.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Since
yes.
that sounds like crazy. This sounds like a different country from the one that I left in 2008. So how has that shifted just very quickly?
I don't know, but I think it's over time. I think I don't know what happened, but women start to go to science like biology, chemistry, and math way more men.
Okay, that's interesting.
And like, yeah, it's very interesting to me as well, because if you went to university in the UK or the States and you go to the engineering schools, it's just geeks. There is no women. There is no good. Nobody will try to find a girlfriend in an engineering school. You will go to a nursing school.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But in Saudi Arabia, women are actually graduated from engineering more than men.
That's very interesting. That does surprise me. That actually kind of shocks me, because I don't think, when I was there, I don't think that was the case. I have no idea what the numbers were. I have no statistics, but
I think they have it today more. I think they don't have them in the past, but today we have more statistics. Like we have a commission in Saudi Arabia do all the statistics yearly, and they they give these numbers out, and you can see them. Like all my friends, Saudi girlfriends around me, they actually have science or engineering or math degrees, while the guys have like whatever, like human resources or whatever,
That's really
something else.
interesting.
No,
And what
yeah.
are the interactions and relationships between men and women? I guess especially young men and women, like in Saudi Arabia now. I think both now and prior to some of these reforms, because when I lived there, I mean, if I went out to Dhahran or Khobar or like part of real Saudi, it was very segregated. I don't think a man could be with a woman unless it's his in public, unless it's his sister, his wife, maybe a close cousin or his mother, like something like that. So you didn't see, like I said, in restaurants, even fast food restaurants and things like that, even KFC and McDonald's, it was segregated, men's only, and then family sections. So what are those relationships like now? How much of that has still been maintained and how much of that is changing?
Uh, Before I left Saudi Arabia, 2012 again, sitting with a woman or bunch of women in the same table in a coffee shop or a restaurant as a man, not relatives to them, was forbidden.
Okay.
Today, I sit every day with the women, girls, and we work on projects and we work on a lot of things together in a coffee shop. Nobody's business. Nobody will ask you. Nobody would do anything to you. Women and men start to work in everywhere you see in the country. I think myself, my opinion, it's segregation sometimes. It's not bad because I am from this culture and I understand a lot of women having a veil and they don't want anybody to bother them or be around them from guys.
Yes.
But the single section, if you remember the single section now, is actually women and men together. But the family section is actually women who feel, they're religious.
Who want to be.
Who want to be. So
Gotcha.
now it's up to the women and up to the man.
Okay.
To sit together or not to sit together.
Okay.
But back in 2012 was kind of forced by society or by laws to be segregated. Today, this doesn't exist. Thanks to Mohammed bin Salman. I'm telling you, this guy changed a lot.
Okay. And here's a question: with all these changes, especially given the speed of how they're happening. I mean, between 2012 and 2020, this is, or even 2019. These are very fast changes. I mean, how have the people responded to it? Has there been some? I assume that. I mean, of course, in any society, you're going to have more liberal-leaning people, and you're going to have more, conservative people. And I think, even in a country like Saudi Arabia, people who are more liberal-leaning may still be considered conservative by Western standards.
Yes.
What's been the sort of response to that? Because as we know, in any society, you can't just sort of change a law or change something very fundamental without having some resistance or people who don't want certain things to change. So how was that sort of done? What was the process there?
Actually, it's so funny. I want to point that out. Actually, I say in America, I say to my friends, I'm conservative in America, but I'm a liberal in Saudi Arabia.
I say the same thing.
Yeah. So yes, I think majority of people, I'm telling you, 70% are younger than 30, and they want these changes so bad.
Okay.
They see all these music festivals in countries around us. They see movie theaters. They love to make movies. They want to, have movie theaters and they want to have festivals, like movie festivals or whatever. This is their right. They want it so bad. And actually, MBS, when he comes to his vision, he made that, like for every young person. So when we saw this guy and we said, dude, I couldn't believe this. Like, I'm telling you, Zuby, I want to say something. Me, myself, in 2015, I was working on my laptop in America, making a project for interfaith to bring people from different religions together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I closed my laptop and I was about to cry, saying, oh, I love this so much, but when I go back to my country, I won't be allowed to do this.
Okay.
And I remember I opened my laptop again. I said to myself, you know what? Maybe when I am 40, 50 years old, things will change and I will be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it after 4 years of that thought.
That's interesting.
This is how I don't believe the change. And I was hungry for it and wanted so much.
Okay.
The majority of people are with these changes. Absolutely, there is people who's conservatives, but the government right now did not force them to. If you want to be conservative, be.
Okay.
Like we have a music festival this
Yes.
week. Like there, I went to a couple of music festivals. Lil Wayne came, different artists came, and I went to all of them. I saw young Saudi dancing. My family, they don't like music festivals. They stayed home.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
We are not forcing anyone to do anything pretty much in the end of the day.
Sorry, man. If you can avoid clapping because it comes through the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, man. It's okay. So the next question that actually leads quite well into one of my next questions, because a lot of people on Twitter, especially when I was fielding questions, a lot of people were asking about religious freedoms, right? That's a big question people have when it comes to Saudi Arabia. So myself, like I said, I lived there for 20 years. I'm a Christian. My family is Christian. We grew up, primarily in the compound. So where I grew up, it was essentially like people could sort of practice whatever they wanted privately, and there were no sort of church buildings, but you can practice and you can do your services in, whether it's in theaters or school halls or whatever it is. But my understanding always was that outside of that community, outside of the compound, then the country was certainly a lot more strict on not allowing any faith, any religion other than Islam to really, allowing people to sort of practice in public, or you couldn't, for example, bring if you brought a Bible in through the airport, for example, they'd confiscate it at the airport, and things like that. So again, what's that like now, and maybe compared to 2012?
Well, I'm not a Christian in 2012.
Sure, of course.
So I didn't experience that much. Yeah. But let me tell you, me, when I went to the States, when I got into interfaith, I start to read the Holy Bible, start to read the Old Testament, and I start to read Bhagavad Gita and different like religious books. And I got all these books in one box, and I came to the airport, and I was like,
which airport was this?
Riyadh.
Airport.
And
okay.
I was like, are they gonna take it? And it was very clear. I did not hide it, and they just looked at it like, oh, Holy Bible, oh. And I was like, yeah, I'm just reading them like to learn. And it's like, okay, just go ahead.
Interesting. Okay.
I took my box, and I think it would be ridiculous if they took them because they can't find them online, PDF version.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's a ridiculous move to do, but in terms of churches, absolutely, there is no churches built in Saudi Arabia, around Saudi Arabia. We don't know about the future. I'm telling you, it's moving fast, and we don't know what will happen. But I think what. For example, Yasmin yesterday made it sound very scary. They go to villas, they change their location and whatever, and they are not allowed. But it's not like this. I think in the compounds, they go to the theater hall or they go to different villas, and they know it's Sunday here and we're going to pray here. And there is not that bothering people trying to make in 2012. What about today, where Saudi is more progress, open about different religions? There was an evangelical Christians group came to the king 3 months ago or 2 months ago.
Oh, interesting.
And they visited Saudi. And there is a Catholic group came to Saudi a couple times. Like Saudi Arabia has the center of King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz interculture and interreligious dialogue in Vienna, whereas the board members is created of 8 religions, and they all come to Saudi Arabia all the time. I think we moving in this forward, and if we have an if we have an issue, or if we have a problem, probably some, or I don't know what's the percentage, but some people are very closed-minded towards non-Muslims.
Yes.
And this is what Saudis for Peace here to do, is actually clearing that vision. There is a bad Muslims and a good Muslims, and there is a good non-Muslims and a bad non-Muslims, and you cannot generalize everyone. But I think people here are like, let me tell you, when I started Saudis for Peace, it's very well attended events. So we do one event every month, and around 100 to 150 people attend every month.
Okay.
And that's a very big number, and people are very thirsty to know a lot about this, about other religions, about how to connect with others, how to speak respectfully to a person from a different faith. So we're taking not baby steps anymore. We're actually taking good steps, and we are on the way to make a change. And hopefully, I am part of this change in Saudi Arabia, about looking to other people with respect. Different religions, different opinions, different anything. Just respect them in the end of the day, and we're trying to get that done.
Awesome, man. A big question that a lot of people did have, this one is, I guess it's might be considered a little bit, controversial or morbid, but a lot of people did have questions about some of the punishments in Saudi Arabia, right? It's one, I'm sure you get asked about it, do they really chop people's heads off? Do they, cut off the hands of people who steal or execute drug dealers and things like that? I know when I lived there, the answer was yes. It's not something that, I think a lot of people have the idea that, you turn on TV and there's like executions going on TV, and everyone's like cheer. It's like, no, I never. I mean, TV, I never. Okay, yeah, like I never saw personally witnessed any of this stuff. Maybe I was like protected from it, but I know the laws of the country. I know the realities of it. So that's not. I'm not in the business of ever trying to deny facts, and I don't want to ever deny facts. So my answer was always, yeah, like that stuff does happen, but it's not. I think some people may think that it's like an everyday occurrence.
It's like an event.
Yeah, like people go to football matches, and we're in Saudi, let's go watch. It's like some people get
pre-game from that
exactly,
execution.
And I'm like, no, it's not like that. It happens, yes, but it's not like that. But of course, as someone who grew up in Medina, now lives in Riyadh, you'll have much more of a perspective on this than I do.
I never saw it in my life, but yes, it's there. I'm telling you, they don't announce it. They don't tell people, oh, it's going to be an execution here. All of you come and see it. This doesn't happen. The legal system is very complex because it's different than any legal system in the world.
Yes.
Let me tell you, if you kill one person, I'm telling you, not killing, not murder. Only murder, not manslaughter or homicide.
Yeah.
We're talking about murder.
Yeah.
So if you murder someone, after a process of about 15 years, sometimes up to 30 years, the court will say, well, you will be executed. But if the family of the victim forgive you, then there is no execution.
Okay. Interesting.
Why this has happened? Some people say, like I said it in the West, and some people say, oh, this will be corruption because they will sell that blood money and take money and forgive him and whatever. Well, this is happening because it's a tribal.
Yes.
It's a tribal society. If this man killed this man tribe and he did not get punished, these two tribes will fight each other and you will create a war.
Okay.
So the legal system take the step to say, well, this equal this, but if they forgive you, it's done. The execution does not happen daily, does not happen every Friday, does not happen, sometimes not every month.
Yeah.
So it's very rare conditions, but they happen. Me,
Yeah.
myself, I never saw one in
You've
my
never
life.
seen it either. Okay.
Yeah, and I think you are not allowed to film, you are not allowed to, and when you go there, it's not like you get in popcorn and you just see it.
Yes.
Most of the people, gatherings in that, they call it Chop Chop Square.
That's the one in
I
Riyadh,
don't
right?
know.
Dira Square.
Yeah, some people say chop chop in English, but
Yeah,
I don't know what is that square.
Yeah, it's
It's
a nickname, yeah.
they making fun or something. Yeah, it's a nickname.
Yeah.
But most people attending that execution asking the family of the victim to forgive the murders. They beg them. They say, please just forgive him. Until that moment. So people are not going there and be like thirsty to see blood. They are not there to say, please kill him. No, they say, please forgive him. Just get him away. This process, even the king himself cannot get into it.
Okay. What's the reason for that? Because of the tribal dynamic?
It's a tribal dynamic, and the victim family are the only one have the ability to forgive. The king cannot forgive that guy. So it's very different than, like, when you hear it from the West, they make it sound, I don't know, disgusting. It's like dark ages in Europe.
Yeah.
But it's not like that at all.
I understand. No, I understand.
There's a lot of reasons and opinions and a lot of things behind that. For the hands, I think they stopped that long time ago. There is no cutting hands at all. I think it was something Islamic before jail, before prisons. But now we have prisons and jails, and they anybody steal or corrupt or make a fraud or make something bad, they stay in prison time.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like what's happening is there's becoming an increased division between the legal system and the religious system. So when I was growing up in Saudi Arabia, of course, as an expat, I was outside of this world. But my understanding always was there really wasn't, like in the Western countries, you have separation of church and state. So religious laws, you know, if you go down to the very roots, they certainly have some influence on the laws of the land, but they're not one and the same. Whereas when I was living in Saudi Arabia, it was like, okay, if something is against Islam, if it's against the Quran, then it's also against the law in the vast majority of cases. So it sounds like that is slowly starting to change. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah. I think, my opinion again, kind of yes, because come on, like, life changed. Like, Islam is 1,400 years ago. They did not even have traffic laws.
Yes.
Or tickets or passports or anything. So these new laws are not from that. But when we talk about murders or tribal laws or some, like, Islam has very big influence until today, and the government of Saudi Arabia say the Quran is the source of our law. Like, we based on this. Like, in the West, they say there is a separate between the religion, the church, and the state. But in Saudi Arabia, the state say, we are proud that we trying to create our laws out of our book.
Yes.
Based on.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just as we're talking, I'm looking through some questions. Quite a lot of people have actually asked about race relations in Saudi. A lot of people have asked if there's much racism, or if there are those sort of divisions and any kind of animosity and things like that along any, I guess, tribal or ethnic or racial lines.
I think it's more tribal in Saudi Arabia. Tribalism is an issue, but not anymore. I think in the recent years, this is very, you see it very decreased.
Mm-hmm.
I think racism in Saudi Arabia was not an issue for a long time. Like
Yeah,
since the beginning of Islam.
I never personally noticed anything or experienced anything, but that doesn't exist.
I had a couple black friends from the UK in Saudi Arabia, and they were really scared, freaking out before they visited.
Okay.
And like after 1 week, I have a video of that. He said, as a black man, I feel safe in Saudi Arabia more than London.
I'm not surprised by that at all. I feel safer in Saudi than I do in London, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like it felt safer.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, Saudi Arabia. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about it. Like, and I think it's not fair to how great this government treating the people, and how the people are very nice to each other, and the crimes rates are very low. Security is very high in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, definitely.
Very, very high. You can walk anytime, do whatever, any street. You can pick the worst street in Riyadh and go to it at 3 a.m. in the morning, and nothing will happen to you.
Yeah.
I cannot do that in Oxford Street in London.
No.
And let me tell you, like with this issue, since we are right now in this pandemic, like the COVID, the virus, look how the Saudi Arabia government treated the citizens. Let me tell you, every Saudi students was outside of Saudi when that virus started. Saudi Arabia sent private jets to get them.
That's very Saudi.
Yeah,
that's very Saudi.
Yeah, man. Like, yes, it's like, you know how. Oh, let me tell you. Do you know what the UK government did to British citizens in Kuwait?
I don't know. Oh wait, did they? Yeah, wait. I saw something about this. I think they told them to try to find help from charities or from their friends. I think.
Yeah, go to your friends or go to charities.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Saudi Arabia is sending private jets, man, to get everyone. And if they did not give you a private jet on time, or there's issue happened, well, we will book you a 5-star hotel so you don't stay with your roommates or with your homestay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing treatment, man. And like someone was writing this on Twitter that Saudi Arabia sold everything to buy the comfort of its citizens. And I'm telling you, this is the truth.
Yeah, that sounds like a somewhat fair statement.
Just right now, like in this problem, we saw the government doing every single thing for us.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how they started very early, earlier than any country.
Mm-hmm.
We have around 500 people only got affected by the virus.
Okay.
They've been segregated from the people. They got all the citizens all around the world to Saudi Arabia. They booked 5-star hotel to the people, and countries where people tell me about like how savage is my government and how bad is my government. They don't see their government not treating their people right.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like this one thing. Someone actually pointed the story of Rahaf.
Is this the rapper? Or
no, Rahaf? No, the rapper. Her problem, just the Western media made a big case.
Yeah, I haven't really followed it, but I've seen a couple people.
Yeah, they said because she rapped, dude, Nicki Minaj was here in Saudi Arabia. What are you talking about? Like,
that does surprise me. I don't think they'd have Nicki Minaj when I was living there.
Yeah, not at all. They have. I wish they get J. Cole or they get Drake soon, man.
That would be cool.
Or Kendrick Lamar. I'm looking for that. But the rapper, she did not have a license when she filmed the video. That's only her issue. She did not serve jail time or anything. But the Western media take a small story and make it very huge.
Of course. They do this with everything. They do it locally too.
Yes. And Rahaf Al Ganoun, she had a problem with her family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her family treated her bad, and she was an underage girl. She fled to Thailand, then fled to Canada, running away from her family. Underage, 17 years old. When she arrived to Canada, the foreign minister of Canada was in the airport waiting for her.
Okay.
Made a big, huge news, whatever. And she started to say, well, I'm ex-Muslim. I'm an LGBTQ. So they like her more.
Yeah.
You know, the lefty media.
Yeah.
This is just like a way to say it. And she got there. 17 years old girl. It was a family problem, and they made it a government problem. They picture Saudi Arabia as an evil country, treating their citizen bad. Women get a bad treatment from an underage girl running from her father. Which happened in the UK, which happened in the US, which happened everywhere.
Yeah.
Today, we're talking right now, 50 Canadians doctors are in China, and Canada did not give them an airplane to come to Canada.
Back to Canada, yeah.
Yes, 50 people. They made that for a Saudi girl, the money they give to the Saudi girl was from Canadian citizens' tax, from Canadian citizen work, to just make a huge story against Saudi Arabia, while their citizens suffering in a very huge problem in China, and they did not get an airplane back to their home, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I really want people to look to their countries and their governments more than what they look to Saudi Arabia. I'm not trying to make you look up for me. Not look up. Look for me. You are not looking for me. I know what's good and what's bad, and I think my country treats me very good. And I see, like, I am so glad that I am in Saudi Arabia while this virus going everywhere in the world, and not in the United States or in the United Kingdom.
Gotcha.
I feel way more safe here. And people should, they should just hear me out.
I think, look, I hope that the people listening to this, look, I think we've talked about a lot of different things here. And I think, people are, like I said, people are interested in Saudi because a lot of people don't know. It's not a country that's that easy to get. I think things are opening more, but like I said, it hasn't been open to tourism for a long time. So you don't meet a lot of people who have been there or who are from there. And most people, 100% of their information is just coming from what they've heard or from the media. And as we know, look, some of it is true. Some of it has kernels of truth. Some of it is untruth. This goes for any story, really. Like any story in the media, you're always going to find some kind of spin, especially if there's a political element to it, or, it's an international story or something like that. There's always an agenda. Depending on which newspaper even you read or which outlet you read, you're going to get a very different picture. So I think conversations like this are valuable, not just for myself and for yourself, but for everybody listening. So before we wrap it up, I wanted to do maybe like 3 things on both sides. So what are the 3 main sort of problems or issues or inequalities or anything like that that still greatly exist in Saudi Arabia that you think need to be changed or should change? And what are the 3 sort of best things about Saudi Arabia, whether that's the people, the culture? What are the 3 things as a Saudi national that you're sort of most proud of?
I think the 3 problems probably, it's sometimes ignorance, and I think this is an issue all around the world. There is a lot of ignorance against people who's different. I think the second one would be just some people are very closed on themselves, right? In Saudi Arabia, like they live in their tribe, in their city, and they are not trying to open themselves to others. I think Saudi citizens need, or some of the Saudi citizens today need to open up to learn more about others.
Okay.
Third, I think one of the biggest issues in Saudi Arabia today, people spend too much on the internet, and in the internet, you know what's going on. People just say the worst things ever, and if you ignorance plus going on Twitter a lot, you would just generalize everything.
Yeah,
You would
sure.
be like, oh, look, like I talk to Saudis here and I'm telling you like, oh, like I lived with a Jew and I lived with a Christian and they were like nice people. And you'd be like, well, I looked to the Twitter and they've been saying this about me. They saying we hate Muslims. Muslims are terrorists. So I hate them too. And I was like,
Okay.
dude, this is just one person. We don't know what he's doing there.
Yeah.
So I think ignorance plus internet is very bad.
Gotcha.
3 things about Saudi, man. I think we have more than Saudi a lot. I think the relationship between the government and the people are very unique. And I think the government do a lot of things for us, and we appreciate that, and we want to work hard for the country and for the government if we can in any time. We have this very strong relationship with them. It's 300 years relationship, and I'm telling you, I'm not rich, I'm not a prince, I'm not anybody. I'm a citizen, lower class or middle class family. I live in the desert all my life around my tribe, and I'm telling you how much I love these people. Second thing would be the family values of Saudi Arabia. Family is always first. So like always your relationship with your family is very, very, very strong. You would see if anything happened to me, I'm a grown man. If I got bankrupt in one day, my dad will be there. My brother will be there. Everyone will be there.
Yes.
This is why there is zero homeless in Saudi Arabia. There is no homeless at all. You see homeless everywhere in the world, but in Saudi Arabia, there is no homeless. A third, I would say, I think, is Saudi Arabian heritage. I think we have a very rich heritage. I think people who lived in the desert all their life to make it to be rich today, they have some cool story to hear, you know, like they have some cool story to say to people and to people to hear about that story. Dude, I'm here, my air condition not working because the voice, but it's very hot. I don't know how they survived this to build this amazing city of Riyadh, amazing city of Dammam, amazing city of Hafuf. And this is only 70 years old, man. It's not even that old.
Yeah.
So they made it. They made it from long time. I think my grandfather said it to me once, said, because people were generous, we made it to this day. Because when I am hungry, when I'm broke, my neighbor used to feed me. And when he's broke, I feed him. And this is how they made it. And I think this is a cool story, cool heritage, and I think people missing out not hearing from that. And then I want to say something, actually. If you don't know a lot about Saudi, I know we doing as Saudi citizens, we're doing a poor job to tell you who we are and our relation with the government and a lot of things. And maybe the platform or media doesn't put a lot of Saudi who talk positively about Saudi Arabia on the media. I'm telling you, 5 minutes, get your visa, come to Saudi Arabia, and look, find any Saudi in Twitter and tell him I'm coming, and I think he will host you, he will give you a tour, he will feed you, he will do everything, and you would have the biggest, like the best and biggest trip in your life.
People are very hospitable. I can vouch for that. I always talk about people's hospitality and just welcoming nature in Saudi. That's very, very real.
It's crazy how we are very generous. Like one time, like Ruiz and Joshua fight was in Saudi Arabia. And I was there hosting a couple of friends from the UK and the States. And one of them commented about the weather and say, oh, it's raining. Inside me, you know what I was thinking?
You were probably grateful that it was raining. I don't know.
No,
Okay.
it's not. I was saying to myself, I wish I had control over the weather, so I make my friends have a good time in my city.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So that thought is very crazy because I would never think about this. But
I'm just surprised it was raining.
No, they were surprised there was raining. It was in the
Yeah.
middle of the winter. It rains a lot there
Okay.
in Riyadh. Man, this is what I'm like. When I said to them, when I looked to it, to my heart, I was like telling myself, "Whoa, this is probably from my roots because I'm not that generous to think about that."
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, Naif. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, bro. It's been really good talking to you, and I hope that people who are listening to this, I hope that they've gained something valuable and gained some insight and a better perspective. So thank you very much for doing this.
Thanks a lot, my man, and keep it up. One of my friends, his name is Mohammed, he was telling me that, tell Zuby, he is my legend. And I think you're a legend. Keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
And Mohammed is from the desert, never been to America, did not learn English, and I think he learned English from Joe Rogan.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Mohammed learned English from Joe Rogan. He's in the middle of the desert, and he spent like 5 hours of driving, and he put Joe Rogan all the time.
That's amazing. I'll have to let Joe know that. That's cool. He'll appreciate that. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. Take care. Masalam.
Absolutely. Masalama, man. Thank you.